I want to get back to a broader issue, and that is the whole question of immigration in the United States. The president promised that there will be an overhaul of immigration laws in this country. We haven't seen that yet. We know that undocumented workers continue to be deported from this country. Do you see any policy here to fix this?
I think it's going to be difficult. Yeah. It's going to be difficult because when you see how the economy in this country works, you need immigration, legal and illegal immigration. When you see how tourism area works, hotels, restaurants, kitchens, the agricultural sector in California works, you need legal and illegal immigration, because it's not because they are legal or illegal, because that type of works, there are no Americans who wants to do them. So Donald Trump has to balance what is the message, the public message that he's carrying, and in closed doors, how to manage the real American. And the real America needs workers. And those workers are today mostly illegal. Hopefully they are going to be legal at some point in the history of the US, because this is a country of immigrants. So at some point, he has the opportunity to bring together Democrats and Republicans, because he knows how this works. And he's a man with a business related to this type of fields. So better than him, maybe nobody who understands how this works. So besides the rhetoric, the political rhetoric, he has the opportunity to, at some points in his first term, bring both Republicans and Democrats and work together to find an immigration reform in the US.
All right, Megan, what do you think? Is there going to be a pathway here for those undocumented people in this country to get some kind of permanent status, even if it's not citizenship? As Gustav says, there's a recognition that you can't deport all these people. They are needed here.
There is no need for illegal immigration in our country. We have plenty of legal immigration through our visa programs and work programs that the federal government has established. Illegal immigration drives down wages. For your guest to call out California as some sort of economic model of success is laughable. People are fleeing California. Businesses are fleeing California because the illegal immigrant population nearly supersedes the legal population, and whereby illegal immigrants are granted free health care, free education, and such, which is upon the taxpayers to pay for. So there needs to be a massive reform in the amount of immigration we let into this country, and we need to stop using the refugee program, as Obama did, to saturate our country with unskilled workers. We need skilled workers through like the H-1B visa program, which is sponsored by technology companies. But we also need to bring down those numbers in order to give this economy, our citizens, a chance.
Okay, but Afshin, there are a lot of undocumented workers in this country who pay taxes. In fact, there are many people who have come into this country who are not legal, who've served in the military as well.
That's right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And it's a tough one. And if he thought healthcare reform was hard, he said, who knew healthcare reform was going to be so hard? Immigration reform certainly going to be very hard. And if I may just defend California, California is the 7th largest economy in the world. It would be a G7 country if it were not. The Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim, don't want to get too much detail here, is the 17th largest economy in the world. So California is doing okay.
Okay, I want to move on. Tara, I want to move on to the Indian Prime Minister's visit to Washington. Narendra Modi came here. The Indian Prime Minister and the US President Donald Trump, they have a few differences on some issues, but they do have one thing in common. They're both very prolific users of social media, Twitter in particular. Let's listen to what Donald Trump had to say about that.
I'm proud to announce to the media, to the American people, and to the Indian people that Prime Minister Modi and I are world leaders in social media. We're believers, giving the citizens of our countries the opportunity to hear directly from their elected officials and for us to hear directly from them. I guess it's worked very well in both cases.
So, Tara, this is very unconventional. We haven't had leaders do this before, but as Donald Trump says, is it working?
It's interesting. Talking about social media, I think Donald Trump has about close to 32 million, and the Indian Prime Minister has around 30 million. I think the difference is a little bit over a million Twitter followers, and these are both leaders that take on their messages on social media. And I think based on the body language that we saw yesterday, the bear hug that the Indian leader oftentimes gives to his counterparts, they both acted on what they do best, and that is personal relationships. In that part of the world, a lot of business deals are done and build upon personal relationships, and this is something that the Indian Prime Minister has leveraged on previously, and this is something that may work to both leaders' benefit. So all in all, it was a successful visit, and also one that is important to the Indian leadership, which is the issue of the rise of militant groups in the Kashmir area. So let's not forget that, you know, this is not just about friendship and relationships and building economic growth, but rather how the United States is going to support India's stability and demands when it comes to its relation to Pakistan and the very volatile Kashmir area.
Gustav, getting back to the use of social media, Donald Trump says that he uses Twitter because it's way of communicating. It's his way of communicating with the country, that he gets around the mainstream media by using Twitter. Does he have a point there?
Well, regarding to the press conference that we saw, it was a joke. I mean, when you have two heads of states or presidents together in the White House, and the message is we are leaders in social media followers, it seems like Saturday Night Live. It's like the program that you see when you want to relax and laugh. And he has the right to use social media. Right. Of course, we are journalists, most of us, and we defend the right to use whatever you want to express your point of view. But when you are president, you have to preserve the institutionality. And you are president of the United States, so you cannot use social media or other channels just to promote specific programs in a very specific channel of TV in the US, because it's weird, and it's not the role of the president to do that. It's the same like when you attack journalists and you are calling fake media because you don't like what they are saying. So he has the right, yes. Is he using this tool in the right way? Right. In my opinion, no.
Okay, Megan, what do you think?
First of all, those in the fake news media, and there have been plenty of stories that have been forced to be retracted. The latest story by the New York Times was one, and they retracted it on a Friday night at 11:40 p.m. Journalists these days seem hell-bent on destroying this president and not seeking and finding the truth, but creating narratives in order to sabotage this administration, which creates great divide and instability in this country. For President Trump to take to Twitter, he goes around the bias of the mainstream media, which is evident nearly every day. Journalists are now becoming pundits, whereby they insert their opinion into a news story instead of just reporting the facts of the story. For example, this whole Russia narrative that has been going on now for 8 months, although there is no evidence and there is no there, they keep headlining the Russian probe and not headlining the successes of this president, to which there have been many. And so, of course, Donald Trump needs to take to an outlet, as one of your guests had said. They're both social, they connect with people, and this is one way for Donald Trump to connect with the 64 million people that voted for him.
Right, Afshin, just on that point of Russia, sure. You're a recovered journalist,
sure.
You know what that's like.
Yeah.
The media continues to report extensively on the so-called Russian connection. To what extent, the complete preoccupation with this story, to what extent has that affected the White House's ability to work with the Russians on substantive issues around the world?
It probably certainly has affected the White House's ability to work with Russia, but I think also there is, I think that clearly we need to investigate this. Clearly we need to find out what is going on. But it seems as if there is nothing else going on in the world. You turn on CNN, and the only thing going on in the world is this Russia investigation. And I think that's an abdication of journalism. You know, as a journalist, we do have to show the broader world and what's happening in the broader world. And I think there's American journalism is facing either a great moment or a crisis moment, and I'm leaning more towards the crisis moment because we've seen a lot of smoke, we haven't seen the fire yet, and you know, at some point the American media is going to have to move on. Having said that, this was an important meeting, you know, this Trump and Modi meeting, but it gets, you know, I think Trump also does a lot of own goals, as they say in soccer, by standing before a crowd and calling himself a social media star, when he really should have been talking about the substance of this very important meeting of the, you know, the oldest democracy and the largest democracy.
Right, Tara, I have one question about that, and that is how President Trump is seen around the world. There was a survey done by the Pew organization. They conducted that survey in 37 countries. 22% of respondents said that they have confidence in what the United States president is doing and that he does the right thing when it comes to international affairs. Compare that with 64% for Barack Obama. Should the White House be worried about that?
I think it depends what their goal is. You look at someone like Justin Trudeau, and he's somebody that is loved by people all around the world. You look at what happened in the French presidential election, and the world and even the non-French people were excited to see somebody that connects with the majority of the people and is not a populist and is not somebody that is interested in isolation and marginalizing the population. So it depends who you're asking, and with respect to whether or not it's worrying the administration, I don't think the administration is blind to this fact. I think this has certainly benefited their agenda and certain policies to a certain degree, and they're leveraging on that. And definitely it's not something that they're not noticing. Talking about journalism, one of the network's executives said earlier that we are making money off of the Russia investigation. So the American journalism also sucks in these sound bites that come off of Twitter and out of the administration. I mean, look at it. We haven't had a State Department spokesperson until only a month and a half ago. Okay. So this is an image that can be controlled by the administration, but it all depends to what they want.
Okay, and that's where we have to leave it. Tara, Megan, Gustav, and Afshin, thanks to all of you for being with us. That's all we have time for. This has been The Heat. Thanks for being with us.